Another physics-based indie platformer with simplistic graphics and charming narration. Yes. It's a physics-based indie platformer like so many others. Planet of the Eyes follows the story of a little robot which crash lands on a mysterious planet in an escape pod, and it just so happens to be covered in strategically placed items which can be used to take you on a guided tour of its murderous traps. The story slowly becomes apparent throughout the game as you discover audio logs left by a fellow survivor, starting off by describing what he discovered along his path, but eventually explaining why you came into existence. The gameplay, as you might expect, is pretty simple. You have the standard movement controls, jump and grab, and every puzzle can be solved just by using those tools. Well, there is one more button actually, arguably the most important one, the dance button. The vast majority of the game is to do with timing your movements, as the environment regularly shifts around you, and you will have to work out the best moment to jump off or onto an obstacle, as sometimes it will give you a small jump boost if you get it just right, allowing you to get past. There are also a variety of different creatures which inhabit the planet, which you need to trick into wandering into some of the traps before flicking the switch to get your own back. Or sometimes you need to lure them into each other so that they eat each other instead of yourself. For the most part it's obvious what you need to do, and the only time I really got stuck is when it looked like you could make it past the puzzle simply by being fast. The rule tends to be that if you can't find your way through, you must have missed something along the way and need to take a quick step back. My favourite parts were the little journeys riding on items, sliding down cliff sides or through pools of lava, as this is probably the most active part of the game, and is a little bit more involved as you need to react to it rather than sitting back and thinking about it. The rest of the game is very slow and ambient. This helps to build the suspense a little and make the whole experience quite calming, although this quickly ends when you get to the rotating platforms and the traditional I press jump frustrations set in. The soundtrack is fantastically fitting with the environment and changes regularly to suit the situation, predominantly consisting of ambient electronic tracks with a retro sci-fi feel to each one. Like every other indie platformer of recent times such as Limbo, Night Sky and Braid, it has a very distinctive artistic style. In this case they've gone for a simplistic single shaded shape style, using a variety of colour rather than trying to be too complex with the designs. But the attention to detail is particularly nice. When you're riding in the lift there is a little engine animation, and when you're riding a powered trolley you can watch the wheels slipping slightly on the surface. It's these little things which are easy to miss, but really give it the last shove towards being great. It means that you're often just looking around the environments for little spots of detail, which if you just storm your way through you could very easily miss. This is the kind of game that you have to take your time with and appreciate it for what it is, rather than what it does. The other thing to keep in mind is that the achievements are almost all to do with exploring little. So instead of just dropping down that hole that you need to go down to get to the next area, take the time to move a little further ahead and see what else there is. I would have a hard time actually justifying the asking price, as there is very little actual game time to be had, standing at around an hour and a half including gathering all of the achievements, and the story, although beautifully narrated and heartwarming, is entirely forgettable. It's the kind of game that if like me you picked it up in a bundle, it's worth just sitting down for an hour or so and playing it start to end as a nice relaxing experience with a cup of coffee. But unless you love the huge influx of small-scale indie platformers, you're going to feel a little bit underwhelmed. Games like this just don't stand out anymore. It's been seen so many times now.